my word and I healed your disease. I am the Lord, your healer. This is his word. I am the God that healeth thee. I am the Lord, your healer. And I sent my word and I healed your disease. I am the Lord, your healer. You sent your word and you healed my disease. You are the Lord, my healer. Yes, you are.
Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God. Good evening and welcome to another edition of Nature's Way. We are off to a bit of a late start this evening, but we are grateful that God has kept us. He has brought us here, and we are here to share some vital information with you. So, without any further ado, I invite you to bow your heads with me while I pray. Our kind, compassionate Heavenly Father, creator of this vast universe, our Redeemer and friend, we are grateful for all that you have done for us. We are grateful for the fact that you have awakened us this morning, clothed us in our right minds, granted us journeying mercies, and we are here today. We are grateful for all you do on our behalf. We come now this afternoon, dear Lord, asking that you may come divinely near us and that you may be with this program. We will be speaking about herbs. And Lord, help us to disseminate this information as clearly as possible so that our listeners and viewers may understand. Bless us now, we pray, and touch everything in studio so that they might work to their optimal. In Jesus' name I pray and say thanks. Amen. Amen. Yes, so we're going to be looking at herbs, which is the healing of the nation, according to the Bible. Now, we have been looking at a lot of things. Niebert was here with you last week and he shared some herbs with you, some home remedies that you can use to treat with, situations that will come upon us. And I'm here this afternoon um, to continue somewhat in letting you know about the herbs, how you can gather them, how you can dry them, how you can store them, and the preparation of these herbs. And later on, I will look at some types of herbs and probably what they do. So we're going to be looking at, first of all, what is the difference between herbs and medicinal medication. All right, so please be reminded that the materials contained in this presentation is informative in nature and is not intended to serve as diagnosis, treatment, prevention, or cure for any specific health condition that our listeners and viewers may have. We give no guarantee of, nor assume any liability for any outcome from the use of this information. And here at Nature's Way, we share simply because we care. These herbs have been tested and proven. And this is why we want to share them with you. Because a lot of times we take medications for stuff and for a particular illness, and then later on we end up having other complaints. But unless you are allergic to ragweeds and so on, the herbs will not affect you negatively. All right. Yes, you can overdose. So it is very important that you, when you are told the amount to use and how often to use it, you do it. As with everything, even uh, from in the hat work. If you overwork, it's going to affect you. If you overeat, it's going to affect you. If you overdrink, it's going to affect you. All right. So whatever you do, if you take medication, you overdose on medication, it's going to affect you. If you overdose on the herbs, it will affect you. The difference is it will not affect you as intensely as the other the medication, over the counter medication. All right, so medical drugs and herbs, and what is the difference? Now, herbs contain a variety of chemical compounds placed there by God, and that is a big difference. They are placed there by God. And I just want to draw the brakes right here a little bit. They are placed there. These chemical compounds are placed in these herbs by God. God, or all knowing, supreme, almighty God, our creator, He placed these chemical compounds in these herbs in order for us to know, in order for them to work according to His will on our bodies. All right. And they always work well. So that's one of the difference of the bat. It is not man made, it is made by God. So, over the centuries, many have been found to be very extremely useful for physical problems. Medicinal drugs are different. In order to patent them for exclusive sales and profits, medicinal drugs cannot have the exact formulas found in the herbs. Instead, they contain various man made, and this is important, man made combinations of chemicals. Now, because of this, to one extent or another, they are always poisonous. You hear that, listeners and viewers? Because these man made chemicals are combined in these medicinal drugs, they are always poisonous. Their contra, their contraindications, right? Paragraphs, verity, the fact. Now, the liver, kidneys, and other organs frequently suffer because of this. And these are excretory organs, the organs that are supposed to, help our body to heal. And these drugs affect these vital organs, the organs that help our bodies to heal. And if they are affected or defected in any way, shape, or form, then we are in trouble. All right. So sometimes you have persons who will go and purchase herbs. But when you're purchasing herbs, you need to try to locate the best sources. All right. So you can do your research, use your encyclopedia to do your research to find out the best herbs to purchase if you are purchasing them from somebody, and, to get the correct combination of herbs if you are getting it ready done. All right. So if you want the flowers, the leaves, the seeds, the berries, the barks, raisins, or roots. Now, all of these are very important. What form do you want the herb in? If you want it in whole form, all of the leaves together, not cut up, etc. So these are some of the things that you need to look out for and ensure that you know what you are looking for so that you can know what you are getting. All right, if you want them in pieces or if you want them powdered. And this is very important as well because some of the herbs, it is not recommended that you powder them and keep them. It is recommended that you powder them and immediately when you are going to use them. Yes, contraindications. Thank you. Good evening, Good Harvest. It's nice to see you on. Blessings, my sister. Good evening. And I trust you have been having a wonderful day. Yes, so far. So thank you for sharing. And if you have information, you can share it. We are happy to have your input on Nature's Way. Okay, thank you. Contraindications. Yes, right. I got a little slip of the tongue earlier. Okay, so as I said, you have to know what you're looking for. You have to know how to treat with the herbs. You have to know when to get them powdered, when to get them in pieces, or when to have them whole. All right. And my producer, Niebert, is an expert in this area. So I'm sure he'll be sharing some information with us as time goes by, about herbs. Now, gathering the herbs is also important. Now, we just talk about purchasing them, and you have to know, the individual have to know, you have to do your research. There, you have that responsibility to yourself, because remember, you are the one who is going to use them, and you want to know that you are getting the right thing. All right. So the gathering of the herbs. Now collect the herbs in clear, dry weather in the morning after the dew has disappeared. That is important. Now, for the leaves, you gather the leaves as soon as fully matured, just before the flowers appear, just before they fade, or at the maturing of the fruits. All right. So when you are gathering the leaves, you gather the leaves as soon as they are fully matured, either or just before the flowers appear, or just before they fade, or at the maturing of the fruit. All right, that's for the leaves. Now, for the stems, you cut the herbicous stems after the foliage appears, but before the blossoms develop. So you cut the ligneous, which is the woody part, the stems in the autumn after the foliage falls. So that's for the stems. For the stalk, you collect the stalks in the autumn. Also the twigs, you collect them in the autumn. Bulbs, gather bulbs after the new bulb is developed, just before the leaves decay. So you know that when the bulbs develop, that's when they bloom in bloom, they you are going to gather them just before the leaves decay. That is when they are most potent. All right. So the rhizomes and roots, you gather the roots of annual plant just before they flower. So there are some plants that bloom annually, and just before they bloom, you gather you gather the roots just before they flower. Gather the roots of biennial plants soon after the leaves have fallen in the autumn of the first year. Gather the roots of the perennials in the autumn after the leaves and flowers have fallen, or in the spring before vegetation begins. Now it's springtime. Barks, gather the barks in the spring, which is now before flowering season begins, or you can also do it in the fall after the foliage has fallen. Separate and discard all decaying matter. Only use the inner bark of, for example, the slippery elm. Only use the inner bark of the slippery elm. For the flowers, you gather the flowers when they are about to open from the bud. But if it is the buds that you want, Gather the buds when they are nicely formed. Okay? So the berries and fruits and seeds, you are going to gather them when they are fully mature and when they are ripe. All right, and my producer is sharing with us. Not all herbs are the same. Yes, that is true. Some are better harvested in the morning, and others may be gathered just before sunsets. Right, so that is very important as well. So the aromatic plants, which are like peppermint and so those um, are aromatic. Those plants, like peppermint, spearmint, pennyroyal, etc., these are best gathered after the flowers are formed and nearly ready to open. Gather them in when it is dry, in dry weather. All right, so that is how you gather the plants, the herbs. Okay. And as my producer shared, not all herbs are the same, because if you notice some of them, you have to gather in the morning. It's best. They are more potent at that time. You get more out of them. Some you gather in the evening, not not when it is dark, because you know the plants go to sleep. So you don't want to gather them at that time. They have no use for you at that time. They are gone to bed. So the medicinal part of them are resting. So you will not get the best out of them at that time. All right. So that is important. And as I said, you need to do your research before you purchase the plants or before you even gather them, so you know when to gather um what herb. All right. So drying of the herbs now. How to dry them? Dry the various herbs materials in a clean room which has no dust, away from sunlight, and where it is not too hot or not too cold. Do not dry them too fast, for too much heat spoils the herbs. All right, so you're going to get rid of those chemical compounds that are healing compounds for you. All right. Okay, so Good Harvest is sharing with us. Some time ago, doctor prescribed drug for me. I googled it and found 65 side effects, including systolic high blood pressure. After 2 days of taking it, I suffered from 25 of them. I quit pronto. She said she quit pronto. Oh, well, it means that you may have been allergic. You may have been allergic. And as I said at the beginning, to when you are going to use herbs, you have to find out first if you are allergic to ragweeds. And once you are allergic, once you are allergic, you don't do it. Okay, so you said the doctor prescribed drugs, right? Yes. Okay. All right. Let me come back. So the doctor prescribed the drugs, right? Yeah. So you see why I said at the beginning, and I'm going to reiterate that. What is the difference between a medicinal drug and a herb? The herbs contain a variety of chemical compounds which are placed there by God. On the other hand, the medicinal drugs, they cannot have the exact formulas that are found in the herbs, because only God can give you the exact formulas. They contain various man-made combinations of the chemicals. And this is why Good Harvest, there are so many. Whoa, 65 is a myriad of side effects. And if you look on a container, a drug container, that if you get some tablets from they prescribe some tablets and you go and buy them, and you just spend the time to read the label. It's sometimes it's very fine, and I think that's a deterrent, but spend the time to read it. Get some light on it and read it. Even get that magnifying glass and read them. You will find out that the side effects outweigh the problem that you have. All right. So it means that you are going to be sick and sicker and sicker. Now, Good Harvest is sharing with us that she suffered from 25 of the 65. Can you imagine? 25 of the 65 side effects, including systolic high blood pressure. And she didn't even finish the dose. It's just after 2 days. And you found out that you suffer from 25 of them. Can you imagine if she had gone 2 more days or had completed the dose? She would have suffered from all 65. It stands to reason, so we have to be careful. The side effects of drugs are tremendous. Yes, they always do. And here, as I said when I told you the difference, that because these chemicals, these man-made combination of these chemicals are in these drugs, they are always, and it is not just sometimes or they may be, they are always poisonous, and they affect those organs that will help us to heal our bodies, our livers and our kidneys. They go straight to them and destroy them. So you will always be sick. So we have to be careful. So when we go to the doctor, we go for diagnosis. We go for diagnosis, and sometimes you may need to get a second opinion. Go for diagnosis and do your research. You know exactly what to do. God has given us that knowledge. There is so many resources out there. God has given us the knowledge to, be able to use these herbs for our healing. And you may think that some things you will have to go to the doctor to get a proper diagnosis. And there are things that you may think that these herbs cannot heal, but trust me, they can. They can heal a fractured bone, a broken bone. They can heal cuts and everything. So it is not, they can even heal cancer. So it is not impossible. It is not that you have to depend on these drugs. You depend on these drugs, and we depend on these drugs because we are lazy. Yeah, quite frankly, we depend on these drugs because we are lazy. We don't want to take the time to go through the healing process and to do the things that will help us to heal. It takes time. It takes time to prepare, as I am telling you how to gather the herbs, and we are going to look at how to dry them shortly. So it takes time to get them, to dry them, to put them in the form that we can use them for our healing. And it also takes time for the healing to take place. But never mind. When you do that, you go straight to the root of the problem. And afterwards, you will not suffer from any side effects. All right? As I said, unless you are allergic to ragweeds. Okay, so for the drying of the herbs, dry the various herb materials in a clean room which has no dust, away from sunlight, and where it is not too hot or not too cold. Do not dry them too fast, for too much heat will spoil the herbs. All right. So guard them from mold as well. In order to protect them from becoming moldly, turn them occasionally. So stir it up a bit, turn them over, and so on. So no mold will form. They won't have time to form if you do that. You can also hang the herbs. So when you hang the herbs, they are not resting on anything that can get too warm or moist, so they will not form any molds. All right, and make sure that where you're putting them is dry, it's not too hot, and it's not too cold. All right, if it's too hot, it's going to start sweating, and you know if it's too cold, it's going to get wet. Sweat and wet and moldy and soft, and then you're going to spoil the herbs. So you can um, hang them so that they can equally dry throughout, right through. All right. So for the leaves, you dry aromatic leaves in the shade. Then place in the sun a short time to prevent fungus. Unscented leaves may be dried in the sunlight, but it is best to dry them in an airy, dry place, especially for the aromatic herbs. All right, the aromatic herbs rather. Now for flowers, the strength of the flower can be judged by the intensity of its color. Some are red and some are pale red. Some are very green. It depends on the color of the flower, and you can judge its intensity by that. So dry flowers carefully but rapidly in order to preserve the color. So you want to do that in order to preserve the color. You have to dry them carefully and rapidly. Give special care to flowers which have foliage oils. Which have volatile oils. Now spread the flowers loosely on white paper, although some can be dried in loose bunches, or you can hang them with a string or something like a rafter, from a rafter or so, etc., in an airy room so that they can dry. So dry the flowers only in the shade, but place them in the sun for a brief time to prevent the fungus growth. So the sun will kind of crisp them up so that they will, but you're not going to keep them in there for long. All right. So because you don't want to get them the colors to burn out. Just like you hang your clothing in the sun, you don't want to do that. All right. So um there's the information that is being shared here that I want to share with my listeners. All right, just let me get to some of them. Okay, so all allergies to plants can be traced to foods that we eat or our parents have eaten at some point in our lives. For example, consumption of flour may lead to allergies to fruits, which with certain calories. Yes, and one example my producer cited, because he suffers from this, he suffers from ackee and avocado allergies because of consumption of certain wheat. All right. Good Harvest say no. Can we use a dehydrator to dry them? Um, yes. So my producer has responded. The problem with dehydrated herbs is that it's the lessening of the herb's medicinal value. Yes, because it dries them out too quickly.
The station with the best.
Yes, so the dehydrator dries them out too quickly, and then it loses the medicinal value. Remember, I said when you're drying them, it is advised that you don't do it too. They are not dried too quickly. All right. Okay. So it is best that you dry them naturally. What you can dry in the dehydrator is those like pepper and those things, but not the herbs. Not the herbs for medicinal purposes. All right. So we want to use the natural process to dry our herbs or medicinal herbs. All right. So we're going to look at the plants and tops now. So if the plants are not too juicy, they may be strung in bunches across the top of an airy, dry room so that they can dry. All right. Bulbs, peel off outer membranes. Then cut the bulbs into transverse or straight across slices, each about a ½ inch in length. Stir them every so often while they dry and move several times. This will help to prevent mold from forming on these bulbs. Okay, it is now 4:47 p.m. You are tuned into the Nature's Way program on Waves 96.3 FM. Okay. And you are tuned into Nature's Way. We are looking at herbs, which we are told from inspiration, it is the healing of the nation. Okay? So the barks and the twigs and the woods dry in the sunlight or in thin layers in the open air. Do not dry wild cherry bark in the sun. This is important. So if you are going to use wild cherry bark, do not dry this in the sun. Just keep it in the open air. All right? But not in the sun. It will lose its potency and then it will have no use for you. Then it might become harmful to your body. So fleshy roots and rhizomes, yes. As you did with the bulbs, cut them in transverse slices about ½ inch in length. Stir and move several times during the drying process, just as with the bark, the twigs, and the woods. Same thing with the fleshy roots and rhizomes. Then you are going to dry them like that, and you're going to move them around occasionally, for several times so that they will not get moldy. Fibrous roots, dry these in the sunlight, or you can, if you are going to dry these in artificial temperatures, it is recommended that you use temperatures such as 65 degrees and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. All right? But natural drying is always recommended because it is always the best. Natural is always the best. So we looked at purchasing the herbs, the difference between the medicinal drug and a herb, gathering of the herbs, drying of the herbs. Now we're going to be looking at storage of herbs. So once the herbs are dry, and as long as they remain in a dry place, they should be good for quite some time. So it means you can keep them for a long period of time. It is generally best to store the herbs in paper sacks in a cool, dry area. The fruits and berries, of course, will be jarred or dried. They are all a blessing from God in heaven. They are. It is important that you store your herbs properly for longest shelf life. An alternative to storing them in brown paper sacks is to place them in a tight container, not made of plastic, which contains formaldehyde. The plastic containers contain formaldehyde, and this is not good to store our herbs. The container can be a waxed carton if it is given a wax seal, but Glass bottles are the best unless you are able to seal, and a steel can, you can use a steel can once you're able to seal it. If you don't have that sealing apparatus for the steel can, it is best to use a glass container, glass bottle, and make sure that it is tightly sealed. Never store anything in aluminum or in plastic bottles, because the plastic bottles contain formaldehyde and aluminum is poisonous to our bodies. The stored herbs should be labeled, dated, and well organized in the herbal medicine chest or in your cabinet. If the particular herb will not be used within, say, a year, then fill the jar to the top. So you're going to pack it so that no air goes in. And you're going to crowd out the oxygen when you do that. And then you seal it with wax. And this is if you are not going to use this within a year. And this will give it a longer shelf life for future use. Herbal oils must be stored in brown bottles, sealed tightly, and kept out of the sun and extreme heat. Powdered forms of herbs will keep up to 1 year or more and retain fairly full potency when stored in a fairly cool place. Powdered herbs generally do not need refrigeration. There are some that do, like for example, spirulina. It is best that you refrigerate the spirulina. If you have it it usually comes in a glass container, but it is advised that you store it in a cool place in the refrigerator for longer life. At room temperature, some of them will keep up to 6 months. Now, but if these are herbs that you use frequently, you can do that. So when hermetically sealed with wax, they will keep up to 2 or even up to 3 years. Herbal powdered herbal powders containing oils such as like cayenne, these cannot be stored even a short time in paper. So you don't store this in paper, but it must be wax sealed in a tight container. Tinctures are best kept in tightly capped, maybe 3-ounce colored glass bottles. So those you have some dark glass bottles that you can use to store tinctures. Flowers may be stored in bunches in a dry, airy room or placed in labeled brown paper bags. So fold bags to prevent insect attacks. All right, so you can store the flowers, in paper bags. So that is it for the storing of the herbs. Now we are going to be looking at preparing the herbs. So preparation is very important, very, very, very important. All right. And you know that you can put the herbs in different forms. You can even put them in tablet forms. And then we're going to be looking at this as well. Okay, so preparation of the herbs. One is infusion. We're looking at infusion or steeping. 1 pint boiling water is poured over 1 ounce dried herb. Cover it with a tight fitting lid so steam will not escape. Let it stand or steep for 20 minutes. Then you're going to strain off the clear liquid and then immediately use or keep in the refrigerator a short time till you are ready to use it. Average dose, 1 tablespoon of the herb per teacup. So take 3 times a day An infusion is used when the volatile oils in herbs are needed, as in peppermint and spearmint, or when the herb is composed of flowers or leaves. All right, so you not only get how to prepare them, but you get how to use them as well. All right, and then you have to um, we have to do the research to know what we use the type of herb for and in what format. So whether it is tincture or in poultice or whatever form. So a sun tea is made in this way. So you're going to put, we call this one a sun tea. Put the 1 ounce of dried herb and a pint of water into a large glass jar. Now place this in the sun for 2 to 4 hours, and the heat from the sun will extract the herb into the liquid. All right, and this is interesting. I'm going to share this with you again. So you are going to put 1 ounce of dried herb in a pint of water, and you're going to put this in a glass jar. You're going to place this in the sun for 2 to 4 hours, and the heat from the sun will extract the herb into the liquid instead of putting it on the stove top or on a fire. You can use the sun, and this is called a sun tea. All right, so a decoction now, which is boiling. So you are going to place 1 ounce dried herb or 2 ounces fresh herb in 1.5 pints of cold water. You're going to boil for 20 to 30 minutes or longer if roots are very hard, like you're doing bark and so on. You can do this a little longer. Strain off the clear liquid, and then you can use other methods as well. I'm going to share another one with you. This one, though, takes a little more time. So you're going to take 1 ounce dry herb or 2 ounces fresh herb, pulverize for the best results. So you pound it up. You're going to soak for 3 to 12 hours in 1.5 pints of cold water. Then you're going to simmer in warm water for 30 minutes. And if these herbs are hard, then you're going to strain liquid into a clean container, and you are going to allow this to settle and cool slightly. Drink liquid while it is still warm. So the average dose of this is 1 tablespoon to 1 ounce water. So this, you can use this and you're going to keep this. So take 3 times a day for healing in order to extract the deeper healing qualities of stems, roots, and barks. The herbs must be simmered for 15 to 25 minutes. Many times it is left uncovered during the simmering to evaporate some of the water. Infusion and decoctions require a brief period of time for their preparation, and both must be used before the sour or growth of the undesirable material starts. And this is usually between 24 and 72 hours. All right, so that's it for the infusion and the decoction. So for a tincture, now 1 to 2 ounce dried herbs are steeped in a pint of cold grain alcohol. Now, and then you are going to put do this for 2 to 3 weeks. So during that time, vigorously shake it at least 3 times a day, then strain and store for use. All right, so the average dose is 1 tablespoon clear liquid taken 3 times a day. Advantage: the herb or herbal compound are ready for instant use whenever it is needed, with no aging problems. But the only drawback is that it contains alcohol, and we are not to consume alcohol. So, this one you can use at another method to make tinctures, and we will share that with you um, at another time, how you can use this to make tinctures. All right, instead of using the alcohol. Now, for the fluid extracts, this is also a tincture which may be as concentrated as a regular tincture, but may be as much as 5 times more concentrated. So you can use that as well for healing. Concentrated herbs, these are relatively new products on the market, and some herbs need to be taken in larger doses to be effective. For those who take many capsules of an herb daily, using concentrated herb is this is a great help. So the concentration is often 4 to 6 times that of the original herb. Concentrated herbs are taken one step further than herbal extracts. They are freeze dried to remove the moisture content. The result is a solvent free product. All right. This one has no added alcohol. So that one is good for you to use. Now, this powder has all the nutrients in a form that will digest quickly in the bloodstream, and they work quickly for relief of pain. Yes. And my producer has been sharing some information with us that I want to share with you. All herbs will dry when detached. Yes, sometimes slowly, but they will be okay. Yes. And moving them about, moving them around, if you hang them, that's fine. When and the room is cool and airy. Or if you have them like in a container, it is advised that you move them around in order not to promote the growth of mold. There are many, many herbs that can be used when still green, yes. For some, you may need to open the pot when boiling them, yes. And one of them, one very popular one is cerasee. You need to open the pot when you're boiling cerasee. All right. And many times the amount of herbs and water used is based on the severity of the illness. Yes, because sometimes you want a thick liquid, sometimes just a light liquid. All right. So it depends on the severity of the illness. And those persons who are experts in making these herbs can tell you that sometimes even they might give you the same herb for one particular illness, and they will give you it for another illness, but the how the preparation is different, and the concentration will be different, will differ. All right. So you know that you can even make herbs in capsule forms and in tablets, right? So you are going to dry the herbs. Dry herbs are powdered, then placed in a 2-piece gelatin capsule. So you can use those as well. They do it for charcoal and they do it for other herbs, and you can use these. But the thing is, with these, When you have the regular drugs, you might take two every, say for example, two every 3 hours or so. But when you have the natural capsules, you have to take maybe more, like maybe 4 doses, 4 capsules for a dose, because with the herbs, they you will need to use more in order to get the relief that you want. All right. So dried herbs for the tablets, you can use dry herbs plus an excipient, which is a binder or a carrier, and you can use this to press into a tablet shape. Some time ago, I don't know if my producer can remind me. Some time ago, we made some tablets. I don't remember what it was that we made it from. I don't remember if charcoal was a part of it. And we got the consistency that we wanted, and we shape them out into some little tablets. And then when we feel some type of way, like if you are getting a sore throat, or you're getting nasal, or you're getting some kind of flu or cold symptoms, you just take these tablets, and they work. And but one thing with these, because we don't put the things in them like the pharmaceuticals do, they don't last very very long. So we have to make fresh batches, as they might last up to 2 weeks or so, but you have to make fresh batches in order to use them in that form. But as I said, some of us go to the doctor and just go to the pharmacy and just take these things because we are lazy. You have to spend the time to make these things so that you can get get healed, and when you get healed, you will not have these side effects. You will be healed from where the root of the problem is. And that, listeners, is very, very, very important. That is very important. All right. So it is important that you spend the time to okay. So one of the herbs that my producer is sharing with me is moringa. And right, the moringa. Yes. Oh, yes. Right. He's reminding me that, thank you, producer. Thank you for that. He's reminding me that it was the moringa that we used to make the the tablets. Right. So we have the powder, and I think we used one of those oils with it, and we so it wasn't very soft because of the texture that we wanted. It wasn't very hard, and it wasn't very soft. And then you shape them out into these little tablets, and we used it, the moringa. Yes, right. Good. So we can make these things ourselves. We can make our own medication. And the information is there. You have these medical encyclopedias for the natural remedies, and you can use them to heal yourselves instead of running to the doctor all the time. Or let me not say run to the doctor, let me say going to the pharmacy, because you can go to the doctor. Nothing is wrong with going to the doctor, but you go to the doctor to get the diagnosis, and then you can know how to treat with it. All right. And I keep stressing this because this is what we do, and it works. It really, really works. And I can't stress enough that we need to have faith in God, and we need to allow Him to use these tools that He has given to us so that we can be healed. All right. Um, Sashina Barton, good day, blessed hope. this Angela Bryan. Good evening, Angela. Nice to have you on. All right. So these are some of the things that we can do to prepare these herbs. You have the tinctures, you have the decoctions, you have the infusion, and of course, some of the herbs, some of the remedies that we use too. Some of the herbs we can use them as poultices to put on or ailments or cuts and bruises and so on. All right. So let me just share some important facts about herbs with you. So for storage, herbs are best stored in glass jars. As we said, do not expose them to the sunlight for long periods of time. All right. So the weight factor, larger persons require larger amounts than smaller or underweight individuals. Women generally require smaller doses than men due to their lower average weight. Children and elderly people need smaller doses. And I don't know if you recall some time ago when we, in our early stages of this program, we gave you some some dosages, and we told you that if you are an elderly person or if you're a child, you need to cut these dosages in half. And what the amount of dosage that we give to men, we give less to women because of their weight, their average weight. And men are more just naturally, their average weight is much higher than women. All right. So this is why for the herbs, you have to take more. Some persons have to take more, some persons take less in order for it to work. So we have to take the climate also in consideration, because the medicinal effect of herbs intensified in hot climates. Therefore, they give less at such times. All right. So we have to make sure that is why we are told that when we gather the herbs, we have to ensure that we gather it at certain times and at certain seasons, in certain seasons, and so on. So people vary in their reactions. Now, some people are more intolerant to herbs than others are. It is best to initially give a small dose and see the reaction first. It is always safe to start with the smaller child's dose and then you build up to a larger dose if that seems best. Increase slowly, remaining on each level for at least 2 to 3 days to observe or for unusual reactions. And this is very important. I don't know if you realize, even with the medicinal drugs that we get out there from the pharmacies or from the doctor will prescribe and he'll give you the dosage. The pharmacist will give you the dosage, but the pharmacist may say take half of the tablet for 2 days. All right. And they want to ensure that they want to test the reaction. When you take it for X amount of days, then you come back and they'll maybe do an interview with you to find out what happened during that time that you have taken it. And if you take it, as they say, without some persons, they tell you the medication, they say don't consume any milk products or any dairy products. And then when you go back, they will have an interview with you. And then if they realize that they observe that there isn't or wasn't any unusual reactions to the medication, then they will up the dosage. So it is the same way. All right. So we need to be cognizant of that. And then we have to take into consideration as well the amounts for children. So what you're going to do, you're going to divide 150, the assumed average adult weight, by the child's actual weight. Example, a child weighs 50 pounds. Now, this is a third of the average adult weight of the 150 pounds. Therefore, you need to give him only a third of the regular dose that the adult would take. All right, so that is how you are going to work it out so that you can know the dosage for the child. And we have to take into consideration too your condition at the time of your illness, in terms of whether, as for the women, if you are pregnant. So during pregnancy, women respond to herbs differently from when they are not pregnant. All right. At such times, it is best to give smaller herbal doses and observe the response. Sometimes mild and nutritive herbs are the best during that time. Some herbs should not be taken during pregnancy, including diuretics, those that purge you, and the herbs that are active. Make these herbs make they are active in the pelvic area, and they should be avoided. You don't want to use those herbs. There's another herb I was trying to remember something. All right, so some of the herbs should not be taken during pregnancy, including diuretics. All right, and all these herbs, they are active in the pelvic area. The herbs that are active in the pelvic area, all these herbs should be avoided, because these herbs, they can cause problems in that area and cause you to, have miscarriages. They can cause you to have problems with your pregnancy. So you don't want to use those herbs during pregnancy. And there is a herb that I'm trying to remember. I don't know if my producer can recall that when you're pregnant, you're not to use that herb any at all. So that golden seal. Yes, thank you. That is it. The golden seal. If you are pregnant, do not use golden seal. There are other alternative you can use for your condition. So do not use golden seal if you are pregnant. All right. Also, even if you are not pregnant, you are not to take the golden seal for more than 7 days at a time. All right. So if you have taken it and you are not getting better, and you feel you have gone up to 7 days and you still haven't gotten better, whether you have gotten better, if you have not gotten better, stop using it. Give it a week's break and then you go back. All right, you are not to use it straight for more than 7 days. So some medications, even with the natural ones, you go up to 14 days, 2 weeks. But for the golden seal, you cannot take it straight. You have to stop when you reach 5 to 7 days, depending. So, but then you break and then you can go again. All right. So you have some persons who are even nervous, who have nerves problem and so on. So you can give them smaller doses than those persons who are more robust individuals. All right. Another thing, people with high blood pressure. Now, these people should avoid herbs that stimulate the heart or constrict the blood capillaries and the arteries. Licorice root, ephedra, and lily of the valley. These are some examples. So you don't want to use these. Cayenne pepper and garlic can be used in normal amounts, even though they do this as well. But these are much milder. So you can use these in their normal amounts for persons who have high blood pressure. So when herbs are frequently combined, as we know, but if not done properly, one herb may overpower or neutralize the effects of the other herb. So it is important that you know how to combine the herb and how much to combine. All right? You have to know how much which and which herb goes together. And maybe one of these days we will look at that and to let you know how to combine the herbs. Okay? Laxative herbs we have to take into consideration as well. This is also an important fact. So give slow acting laxatives in the morning so as not to disturb your sleep. So it is best you take it in the morning so that during the day you can go and you'll be able to get your sleep. This may take up 1 to 3 days to work in some persons, whereas fast acting ones usually take 4 to 8 hours. Do not increase the amount until a 3-day period is over, using the same amount every day. Then, if the desired result is not obtained, you may increase the amount. The desired objective is generally 2 bowel movements per day. And if you take too much, you may be doing this for a while. So you don't want to overdose yourself. Remember, as I said, you can overdose on the herbs as well. All right. So sedatives and antispasmodic herbs, give them on an empty stomach or just before bedtime. Astringents and minerals, these are also important things to look at. Astringent herbs should not be taken at the same time as nutritional supplements containing iron. So if you are taking supplements that contain iron, you are not to take or use the astringent herbs. The tannins in astringent herbs will leach calcium, iron, and other important minerals out of the intestines, and you don't want that to happen. Therefore, only give astringent herbs for a short period of time. Now, blood purifying herbs are usually given on an empty stomach. So you need to take this first thing in the morning. So sometimes it's just a shot like that, a shot glass. You can use that. And then if your last meal is say about 3 o'clock or so, for those persons who don't eat after a certain time, you can, before bedtime, you can take another shot. But it is advised that you take it, especially in the morning before you eat or drink anything. All right, it need to be taken. These blood purifying herbs need to be taken on an empty stomach. So there are some strong bitter herbs as well, and some persons are not able to take these because they may become nauseous. But to avoid nausea, be sure to drink enough water, and also enough water in them so that they are not too thick. All right, so it's just thin, and you just drink it. The bitter herbs, it's best if you do that, because when it's too heavy, it's not going to work if you are going to bring it back up. So it's best if it's not too heavy, more watery. It goes down quicker and easier. So there are also some very powerful herbs that may be combined. So be careful when you are taking these herbs, because they have powerful effects. Some of them make you feel as if you are going to pass out. Some of them give you a little dizzy spell. So some of these herbs include lobelia, juniper berries, black cohosh, poke root, aconite, and shave grass or horsetail, it is otherwise called. So these are some of the powerful herbs that you may want to make sure that you know you are able to take these herbs. All right. And there are some bitter pills, some that we call bitter pills, and they have a tonic effect on the stomach. So digestion, it may be, maybe a little hard to digest. So if you know you have problems taking these, you can do some alternatives. Make sure you get the herbs that are as powerful, but make sure they are not very strong in terms of its consistency. All right. So the temperature of the herb is also important. Some herbs you drink hot, some room temperature, some warm, lukewarm. So make sure that you know which ones to do to take hot. All right. So you have as well. All right, let me just elaborate on that a bit. A hot infusion or decoction is used to help to induce sweating. All right, so cool teas are used for tonic effect. So you don't want to, that gives you strength. A warm tea and warm teas, they produce a feeling of relaxation. So it depends on what you want. If you, some persons take a warm tea just before bedtime for relaxation. All right. And there are some that will help you to sweat. So you may have, so these are like for detoxing. And then some are to give you energy. So that one is taken for, it's taken when it is cool. So you have the warm teas, the hot teas, and the room temperatures. So we're going to look at tablets versus capsules now. So tablets are easier to work with than capsules in hot climates. The latter tends to stick together, yes, it does. And most vegetarians either open and empty the capsules or they use the tablets instead of the capsules. Since the capsules are made from, most of them are made from slaughterhouse products. So most vegetarians or plant-based persons don't use the capsules because of this. So it is best we use the tablets. And as I said before, we can make our own tablets. It is not hard to do. Just spend a little time to make them and you take them. All right. So there are some herbs that you take at mealtime. So what you're going to do to avoid taking too much liquid, capsules or tablets are to preferable to teas at mealtime. So instead of, because when you drink, when you are going to eat, you don't want to take in too much liquid. So it's best you take the tablets and then you eat. Afterwards, maybe a half an hour or so, you can do some drinking because you don't want to have your stomach filled with too much liquid and then you are going to eat. And you don't want to eat and drink at the same time. So some persons, they say they are okay with it, but it is not really a good practice. All right. So varying the intensity of the amount of herbs that we take. So there are some things, some you have to take some for a slow, gradual, general effect. You need to give the herbs in small quantities of maybe syrup, and what this will do, it will um, it will retard absorption to aid the appetite, increase digestive secretions, or for a local effect on the stomach or intestines. Give herbs, you take herbs before meals. Give the herbs in you can use, there's a gum form that they can get, or olive oil for a localized effect on the stomach and intestines. To reduce the irritation of certain herbs, you can take them in syrup form or soy milk. So if you want to put the herbs, some herbs are irritable on the stomach. So you can put them in some syrup or some honey or some agave, or sometimes you can put them in soy milk and have the person take them. To increase absorption of the herbs and produce a more rapid effect, you can take them 1 to 2 hours after a meal. To reduce the bitter taste of herbs without reducing the bitterness, take the dose in a large quantity of fluid, some syrup or honey. The bitter taste is often necessary for the proper effect to take place, but the bitterness can be disguised to the taste buds. All right, or just take it. Your taste buds will get accustomed to it. Fluids which do not taste good can make can be taken more easily by drinking them cold, followed by a drink of plain water. So there are some medicines that are very bitter. So you don't want to take it warm because you have to, sip it and do it over and over and over. So what you can do is have it like lukewarm, room temperature, and you just drink it down as quickly as you can. And then this will help to get rid of that taste very quickly. All right. So there are some herbal applications that I want to share with you for the next few minutes that we have. All right. So, all right. So fermentation is one of them. Now, the types of herbal applications, we have fermentation. Now, with the fermentation, these are cotton towels soaked in an herbal tea infusion or decoction, which is as hot as can be tolerated. This now is placed on a body part. What this does is this stimulates blood and lymph circulation, warms joints and other body parts. This reduces internal inflammations and relieves colic and pain. By alternating hot and cold fermentations, healing blood. So let me do that again. By alternating hot and cold fermentations, healing blood moves more rapidly into and out of the affected area. This is especially helpful for sluggish circulation, constipation, urine retention, and etc. After soaking it in the herbal tea, fold and wring out the hot towel slightly and place it on the affected area. Over that place or layer of or over that place a layer of plastic. To keep the heat in, you can put a layer of plastic over it, to keep the heat in. Place a dry towel or a heating pad on top of it, and every so often resaturate the hot soaked towel. And let me just share something with you here. When I had my fractured leg, this was one of the things that I did, because it kept every it when it is down, it gets swollen. And one of the things that I had to do in order to get rid of the pain and the inflammation was the fomentation. And you use the hot and the cold, as hot as you can bear it. And you know what happens? From the first time it touches your skin, that heat touches your skin, the second time you can bear it a little hotter. So each time you find that you wring it out less. All right, so the heat stays in, and then you cover it and let it stay there. And then after that, you do the cold. You do the cold and you do the hot. So you do hot and cold, until you find that that healing blood is moving. So then the swelling goes down, and then that what you call it, palpit, that when it's beating, that goes away. And then you find that it is not so painful afterwards, after you do this a few times, and it does work. So the fomentation, it works, and it's good for inflammation and really pain relief. So another application is poultice. This is a small pile of powdered or pulverized herbs moistened with water, or tinctures, infusions, decoctions, salves, and oils. And this is applied to the surface of the skin. So fresh herb can be applied without moistening. If there if there will be a body movement, so you can wrap a cloth around the poultice to hold it in place. What you can do as well is you can tape it slightly so that it stays in place. Poultices are used to reduce inflammation and withdraw pus and embedded particles. Yes, it does. Ginger and cayenne increase circulation. Mhm. Echinacea and garlic reduce infectious sores. Valerian and kava kava reduce pain. Lobelia tincture added to a poultice will reduce pain very well as well. So you can use that. All right. Clay poultices with or without herbs made into a thick consistency. These are good at drawing out poisons. Clay you can purchase the clay at a health food stores, and you can to get this poultice, this type of poultice. If you are not able to make it yourself, you can get it at the health food store. Mixed with mashed cabbage leaves, the clay poultice is good for boils and tumors. Mixed with powdered cayenne or ginger, painful arthritic joints can also be treated. And another application is salves. Now, salves are used to treat boils and dry or itchy skin. Astringent herbs such as white oak bark and bayberry, these will tone the skin. All right. So demulcent herbs, which is like comfrey, soften and keep the surface moist and healthy looking. Salves are a thick consistency of herbal oil, herbs, and a little oil. All right. Never use mineral oil. Use one of those carrier oils like olive oil, castor oil, coconut oil. And you have others, tea tree oil, and so on. But don't ever use mineral oil. And you can use this to cover the mixture. All right. And you can even go as far as baking this in a covered pot for about 125 degrees to 200 degrees, and you do this for 24 hours. You you can also use the beeswax, melt beeswax, and you can store it in oil, and you can use this. Now, preserve the salve by adding a half teaspoon of vitamin E per cup of the solution to 1 ounce of salve. All right, and you can use that for salve. Now, this is good for treating boils and dry, itchy skin. For the oils, oils are usually made from mints and aromatic herbs and are applied to increase circulation and warmth to the area and treat skin diseases and painful joints as well. Now, these are to be rubbed on the surface of the skin before a poultice. So you rub it on the skin before you put on a poultice. And I remember when I was treating my fractured leg, and because of I had to wear an ankleizer, and I got a blister from the ankleizer. And in treating the blister, this was what I had to do. We had to put a little oil on it first before we put the poultice on it to pull out to help it to burst, to get the water out of it. Luckily, or happily, for it did not get pussy or anything like that. All right. So you can use the oils. You make them from mints and, as I said, from aromatic herbs, and these are applied to increase circulation and they bring warmth to the area as well. And they treat skin diseases and painful joints. They are also used when giving massages for dry skin. These are to be rubbed on the surface of the skin before you use a poultice or hot pack or fermentation. So if you are going to use a hot pack or poultice or a fermentation, you put the oil on the area first before you apply these. So certain oils will be absorbed by the skin faster than others. When you want the oil to remain on the skin for a long period to help heal the external sores and so on, use olive oil or peanut oil or avocado oil. All right. Wheat germ, sesame, and sunflower oil absorb much faster, so you don't want to use these. Essential herbal oils can also be purchased in a health food store, and they can be used like your tea tree oil and your clove oil and so on. All right. And there is another application, a couple more that I want to just share with you before my time is up. It is now 5:45 p.m. and we have just about 15 minutes or so left on this program. So I just want to share these other two applications with you. And if we have time, I'll share some, poultices with you. All right. So another application is douche. So it's douches. What these do, these are used to treat vaginal infections and excessive secretions. They are prepared by making a strong infusion or decoction using herbs such as golden seal, myrrh, slippery elm, plantain, and if there are excessive secretions or bleeding, they can be used as well. White oak bark. 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar should be added to 1 quart of tea to help maintain an acid pH. While the tea is warm, carefully insert the douche. Retain for 3 to 5 minutes. Use once daily for 5 to 7 days and only during the infection. So once you are no longer infected, you need to stop using it. Thereafter, only used like once per month. And pregnant women should not use douches. Okay, that's the word of caution. And there's another application called Bolus, and this is a suppository inserted in the rectum or the vagina. This is used to draw out toxins and treat swellings, infections, cysts, tumors, inflammations, and hemorrhoids. For vaginal infections, boluses are only used when douches are not successful. The herbs used in boluses are astringents such as white oak bark, bayberry, and witch hazel. Demulcents like slippery elm and comfrey root those are the demulcents. And the antibiotic herbs such as garlic, golden seal, chaparral, and myrrh. Now, these are the herbs that are used in boluses. And you have the different herbs for different things. So you have the herbs, the astringent herbs, you have the demulcents, and you have the antibiotics. Now, to make a bolus, add 10% powdered slippery elm by volume of or weight. Add this to your selection of herbs. Mix the herbs well, either by stirring or by blending. Slowly pour water into the mixture until it becomes thick, doughy, until it becomes a thick, doughy consistency. Then roll into strips about 1/2 inch thick and 3/4 inch long. If necessary, put the mixture into the refrigerator to cool a while before rolling these suppositories. When formed, let them dry by being exposed to the sun or in an oven under low heat. Do not burn them. So I would prefer you put them in the sun. Then put them in a jar and keep in the refrigerator. So you know the bolus is for insertion. So before inserting the bolus, let it sit at room temperature about 15 to 20 minutes so that it can warm up. So to make insertion easier, dip in olive oil or warm water and quickly insert it before it dissolves. Insert before long rest. Insert before long rest periods in bed. So you are going to, before you go to bed, you can do that insertion. All right. So those are the applications, 6 applications that we can use for herbs. Now, there are some useful poultices that I want to share with you just before we go. All right. So there is one cabbage poultice. Okay. So, all right. Let me just go to the board here in the chat. It says, my father suffered from pinched nerves. Does the hot and cold work for that? Yes, it does. The hot and cold works for that. So you're going to, there's a method that you can use for the hot and the cold as well, so that it stays a little longer. All right. You can use a towel. You can roll the towel as tight as you can. Right? Roll it. So you fold it and roll it. So you just roll it up like how you would roll the hose that the fire truck use. You roll it like that. Then you have the hot boiling water, and you may just use you throw it in the center of the towel. So you use it to wet the towel. And then what you do with that is you put that on the area, on the affected area where the pain is, and you keep that there for as long as you can, for about you keep it there for about 30 seconds, and then you remove that, and then you do the same thing, but this time it's cold water, and you remove that and you put the cold on it, and then you do that for um about 6 to 10 times, or until there is relief. And you keep doing that 2 to 3 days, even up to 5 days if there is no relief. All right. But there are some um, oils that you can rub on the area as well for pain. You can use the castor oil to rub on the area. You can use the trumpet leaf to wrap it on the area at night, before your father goes to bed, to keep it on it so that he can get some relief as well. But you do the hot and cold, and you use the oil to to rub it as well. All right, you can use those the aromatic oils, the peppermint and so on. But if it is too harsh on the skin, you can just use like the castor oil or the olive oil. All right. You can even just slightly warm the castor oil and put it on the area, and then you put the trumpet leaf on it and you wrap it, and he sleeps with that. Tape it so that it stays in place. All right. And then late in the day or early in the morning when he gets up, you can do the hot and cold maybe 2 or 3 times during the day, and this will help. And you have to be consistent, because it doesn't just happen all at once. All right, so you have to be consistent in doing this so that he can get some relief. All right. Let me share with you quickly some very useful poultices. So one is the cabbage poultice. So you're going to pulverize the leaves and lay it on the skin. This also can help with that condition. This will draw out poisons and pus. When it feels hot, replace it with a fresh one. Another way to prepare the cabbage, you can wash a leaf and you can lay it flat on a breadboard or so, and you can roll it with a rolling pin to break the ridges and the veins in the cabbage, and then you can attach it to the area. Okay, so this is a very good one. If you have knee pain, back pain, and so, you can use this as well. The other one is the garlic poultice. What you're going to do is you're going to crush fresh garlic and add warm water and flour. And what it does, it relieves pain, it takes out pus, and also infections, because we know garlic is a natural antibiotic and so on. It's also a very good pulling agent. All right. And another one is the potato poultice. So you're going to place grated raw potato on bruises and sprains and boils, the raw potato. Some persons, the potato is harsh on the skin. It gives some persons a rash. So what you can do is put it in some gauze, and you can use an oil on the area so that it's not so harsh on your skin. Use one of those oils, olive oil or castor oil, on the area, and then you put it on it, and this will help to with your sprains and your sores and so on, and your boils, because it also pulls. The carrot poultice is another one. So you're going to take the pulp. You can use this after you have made some carrot juice or something. So you can use this, and You can place it in on the bruised area. Make sure some of the juice is left in it. You can put it on your sores, or if your skin is chapped, and so on. And if you have, for ladies, if you have tender nipples, you can also use it on it. All right. It's the carrot. The carrot is not only nutritious for eating, but it is nutritious as well. It helps to heal your body as well. So there's another one, comfrey poultice. So you're going to mash the leaves, then moisten them with comfrey tea. So you can make the tea first, you can do the infusion, and then you mash the leaves and you use that water to make it, wet. Then it is good for open sores, it is good for wounds, and it's also good for swellings, it is good for fractures as well. All right. So these are some of the um, poultices that I want to share with you. Next week, God's willing, I will share some more poultices with you because we have a, up to maybe about 22 of them or so we can share with you. And these work, they do work. They are simple. You just mash these things. Sometimes you mash them with water. You can use a oil and so on. All right. So you can do that and you are on your way. All right. So as we have looked at the herbs, how we gather herbs, if you're going to purchase them from someone, know what to look for, know what you want, know the how you want them, and so on, and the different applications of the herbs, and some facts about the herbs, when you use them, when not to use them, and so on, and storage and how to dry herbs. Now, these are some of the things that we looked at today, and we're going to be continuing with this. We're going to look at some other basic effects of the herbs and so on, and then we're going to look at the herbs that we can use for different things and what they are used for, what their potency and all of that. All right. So, and the kind of herbs that we need to ensure that we have in our backyard or to the side or to the front. Just make sure it is available. God has been gracious unto us. He has said in his words, Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayst prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. Jesus is coming soon, and we need to ensure that our lives are in accordance to his will. We cannot save ourselves, only he can save us. And he can only save us if we surrender to him. So throughout this week, let us remember that he is our keeper, sustainer, and friend. He is our savior and guide, and he wants to save us. So let us surrender our all to him so that we may be saved when he comes. Let us pray. Father, thank you for your words. Thank you for your goodness and your mercy and your grace. Thank you for all you do on our behalf. Help us, dear Lord, to look to you, the great physician, and help that the things that we ought to do to stay healthy, you've said in your words, whatsoever we do, whether we eat or drink or whatsoever we do, it is a means of worshiping you and to glorify your name. Help us that in everything we do, that we will purpose in our hearts that your name will be glorified. Bless us now and keep us, we pray, in good health. For Christ's sake, amen. It's goodbye from Nature's Way until next Sunday. Please do have a healthy week and stay safe. God bless.
I am the God that healeth